Well, that was bad. That was bad. Man, that second half. A tale of two halves. San Diego State, they dropped this one to Utah State. Nationally televised game. Obviously, San Diego State, Utah State, for me, that like hands down, that is the best rivalry, men's basketball in the Mountain West. No doubt. And I was excited for this game. I always look at the calendar and I'm like, when is Utah State on the calendar? Either at home or even in Utah. Like, when are those matchups? I need to be making sure that I'm watching those matchups. And it lived up to it in terms of entertainment. The Aztecs just were not on the right side of things. But that first half, the Aztecs looked so dominant. They looked like, oh my gosh, this team, it's special. This has like deep March Madness run all over it. The way that they were just pressuring Utah State, and it was just from the get go. And what they got out to what a 7-0 lead, I think, right off the bat. And they just were not letting Utah State get into any type of groove there in that first half. I thought Fox did a great job of showing angles in that first and the second half, obviously, of San Diego State, the pressure, or Utah State in the second half, and I'll get to that. But the pressure that San Diego State gave, that they put on Utah State there defensively, right when they were on the arc, right when they got the ball, really. And so that was huge. And they got out to, obviously, at the end of the first half, a 43-32 lead. And that was with JCJ missing time because he got the elbow to under his eye, and then he had to go get that taped up, and he ended up going back into the game. But yeah, things were going great. And then the second half comes. Were the refs great, especially at the end? No. And that's not me being biased. I disagree with some of their calls. One, really, that went for San Diego State. So I'll get to them. But this second half, it like flipped. The pressure, the confidence went to Utah State's side. And I guess it started more like at the end of the first half. They had a good swing there at the end of the first half. I forget exactly what the sequence was, but it wasn't the best, cleanest basketball by San Diego State in the last like 30 seconds to a minute of that first half. So maybe it carried over. I'm not a big believer in momentum, but in halftime, Utah State probably had confidence going in. And so going into that second half, they played like they were San Diego State, really. And they played like they were at home, and they really relished being on the road, especially again in that second half. And they were the team that was pressuring San Diego State. San Diego State was not able to really get into the paint and get easy opportunities, easy buckets there down low. So credit to Utah State there, no doubt about that. But at the same time, I thought that San Diego State could have done a better job offensively. I thought Miles Bird sometimes was chucking up some threes where it's like, that's not a great shot. That's not very characteristic. That I should say that's uncharacteristic of a good fundamental Aztecs basketball team. I'm sure Dutch probably wasn't too happy with that. But at the end of the second half, Miles Bird should not have been fouled out when he did. I mean, that's a charge. I that was a freaking charge, and the refs didn't call it. They called it obviously 4 in favor of Utah State. Miles was set clearly, and then gets knocked down. I don't see how you call it. Excuse me. I don't see how you don't call that a charge. That didn't make sense. And then they go down the other side of the court, and who had the ball? Was it BJ or Wayne? Maybe it was Nick. It was Nick Boyd. That's who had it. Boyd had it. He come down the lane, and it's a steal or at least a jump ball, and the refs called a foul. Now it's in favor of San Diego State. Nick Boyd got to go to the free throw line, but it's like, these refs, you're not watching the same game as we are, clearly, because some of that was just crazy, some of these calls. But San Diego State, while they were great from the line, and the broadcast obviously out, what was their 20 of 22? 20 of 22 from the free throw line. Great from the free throw line. But only 25% from three. And again, I think some of those were not great shots, should have been better shots. And yeah, they they had a much harder time getting to the basket in that second half. And I think a lot of it was like Utah State, they weren't sitting back. They were aggressive. They were going right at San Diego State, hands in the face, all that in that second half, and it paid off. Utah State, it's a good team. I mean, they have the 3-time Mountain West Player of the Week already this season, Falslev, I think. Isaac Johnson, who didn't do much. I mean, he didn't score today. Who was the other? No, sorry, it wasn't Isaac Johnson that was getting hyped up. It was Ian Martinez. He scored 17. I think he has double digits in every game so far this year for Utah State. Like, they've got guys, good team. But I was so happy after that first half, double-digit lead, because of the way San Diego State was playing and how aggressive they were. And it's like, wow, this is like, can we stay this way? If we stay this way into March, nope. I don't think teams want to play San Diego State anyway. But just the way that they were playing in that first half, if you missed it, I mean, holy cow. That was impressive. But look at the point disparity, the comparison. First half, 43 points. Second half, 23 points. A 20-point difference from the first to the second half, and you lose by 1. That shows you how dominant they were in that first half. To score 20 less points in the second half and you lose by 1. And Utah State, it's not like they scored 43 or 50 points in the second half. And that's why, no, they had 32 in the first, 35 in the second. They were more consistent with points than San Diego State was, in each half of this game. So what does this do for San Diego State? I mean, Utah State, I mean, they're going to be a tournament team. They're going to be battling San Diego State for the Mountain West this year and probably the conference tournament. I think these are the 2 best teams in the conference. Now, I'm not acting like I watch every, Boise State, Colorado. I'm not watching every other team in this conference, but watching this matchup today, it sure seems like, yeah, these 2, they're going to be going right after each other for the 2 titles, regular season and the conference or the tournament in Vegas. So I don't think that this will destroy San Diego State, in metrics and all that. It was not pretty for those, that decide on this and they have eyeballs. Yeah, not pretty in the second half for San Diego State. But they do still have good wins, not just good wins, but great wins over some of the best teams in the country already this year. And if this is their worst loss because of how they played in the second half, I mean, they still only lost by 1. So, numbers are numbers. Yes, they were playing at home. It's not. This would have. If you're going to lose like this, you lose when you're playing on the road, not when you're playing at Viejas. So maybe that'll hurt. But at least they didn't get blown out. At least they didn't, lose by double digits. But I have a hard time even saying that. Well, at least this. No, you should have won this game. This sucks to lose this game. I feel like it would be like if the Padres, had a 5-1 lead in the 8th inning and they lost the game. I'm not going to say, well, at least they lost by 1 run only. But it's different. I know. Baseball, it's just standings. Where college basketball, it's not just standings for the tournament. It's other things. So that's why I bring it up. But no, it sucks. No doubt. Don't get me wrong. This sucks. That the Aztecs were not able to close out this game. Miles Bird, though, should not have fouled out in that situation. Maybe he takes the last shot instead of Wayne McKinney. Still no Reese Waters, obviously. That's going to be a while if he even comes back. I love Nick Boyd's energy. I still do. Even though I was watching during this game when he was pumping up the crowd and stuff, and I'm like, use the energy towards the basketball. We'll be loud. The Aztecs fans will get loud when things are happening. Don't worry. But hey, that's how he plays, and he was fired up. And I said this earlier this year, but yeah, he's our Jalen House, no doubt about that. Other fan bases are not going to like Nick Boyd when he comes into their place, but when it's at Viejas, it plays well. But obviously, wish that it would have come in a win. because that first half was tremendous. Second half was their worst half of the year and their worst half in I don't know how long. I wonder what Dutch is going to say post game about that second half because that was ugly.